The A's just won a series in Houston, and that's pretty cool. The A's just won a series in Houston, and that's pretty cool.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about your Oakland A's in their final few weeks in Oakland. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I am also the host of Locked On MLB, and you can follow us at Locked On A's at Twitter or whatever it's called now. And there's my lower third. Sorry. You can follow me. I'm your pal Sully. But Sully Baseball on Twitter, still Twitter, and Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB. Win $50 instantly when you play $5. Sounds like a good deal to me. I'll tell you what's also a good deal is the A's went to Houston and won their second straight one-run game. I felt kind of skeptical about this game. I'm not going to lie to you. Estes was going for Oakland. Hunter Brown's been a very good pitcher this year. And when the Astros took an early 2-0 lead, I can't lie to you. I kind of felt, oh boy, it was the Dubon single. It scored a couple. And I really thought, this one isn't looking good for us. Now, I know Houston is going to be throwing Framber Valdez in the matinee finale on Thursday afternoon. And I thought, oh man, they won that first game and it was a thriller. And this one, this felt like it might be the best chance, but when they fell behind early, again, it's just the second inning, but I felt kind of like, oh boy. But then Brent Rooker drove in a run, and he wound up, and by the way, Rooker, with his 2 runs batted in the game today, wound up, excuse me as I adjust my headphones a little bit, wound up passing the 100 RBI mark. Now, I know RBI are no longer cool, and we're not supposed to care about them anymore. But I do. I still like them. I think they're a good storytelling stat. They're not a predictive stat, but I don't have a fantasy baseball team, so why the hell do I care about that? They're fun. He drives in a bunch of runs, and they're not always from homers. And so, Rooker went, 2 for 5 today with a pair of runs batted in. And the game got tied, but then there was an error by Schoonman, and I thought, oh boy, and this is not good. But then came the great moment. Kyle McCann hit a fly ball that, because of the stupid Crawford boxes, was a home run. And do you know what? If that's the way it's built, then that's the way it's built. I always prefer the Astrodome to this stupid stadium. There, they used to have a hill in center field. That was weird. And they have that stupid train and everything like that. I've never liked this stadium. The Astros are supposed to be the kind of the team of the future. They were supposed to have that George Jetson quality to them. And now they have all this phony baloney tradition stuff. I did a whole video about this back in 2011 that I hate the new Astros stadium because it just doesn't feel like the Astros. I digress. The Crawford boxes came into good use for the A's with the home run, and then Rooker drove in Schoonman for his 101st run batted in, and Estes pitched well enough to win. He let up too many hits. He let up 7 hits in 6 2/3 innings, but he only walked 1 batter. Now, Schoonman had a rough day in the field. He made a pair of errors, but he made up for it with 2 hits, including the double, scoring a pair of runs. He got on base 3 times, so he made up for it. And they used McFarland. Ferguson got into some trouble in the 8th, but he wiggled out of it. And Miller was tremendous. He was tremendous. He only faced the 3 batters, and he only threw 9 pitches. It was interesting because the Astros were trying to get to Miller early. They were swinging away early. And it was a glorious thing because I said, he threw 9 freaking pitches. Now, if he struck someone out on a full count, that is a minimum of 6 pitches. So he threw 9 pitches. I think he's probably ready to go for the final. And with this, the A's are 64-82, which means they need to win 8 games to avoid the 90 win loss. They have to go 8-7. They have to play 1 game over 500 the rest of the way, and they will avoid 90 losses. They've already avoided 100 losses. They can avoid 90 losses. Now, big game tomorrow on that pursuit. They are playing in the afternoon. Spence is pitching against Valdez. It's a tough game, but they can go for the sweep. They can go for the freaking sweep of the Astros in Houston if they just knuckle down. Don't make errors. Don't just rely on the long ball. And just play, always play to the right place and avoid walks. Now, let's just say Framber Valdez is not on his game. All right? Or they win another tight one. All right. If that happens, if the A's manage to do that, they will have thrown a little bit of a monkey wrench into the American League West picture. The Seattle Mariners went up against the Padres. So the Mariners are 3.5 games back. 3.5 games back. Wu was throwing a perfect game into, I think, the 6th or 7th. And he wound up holding on to win the game. And the Mariners, who obviously blew a 10-game lead, but with their now they are now 3.5 back. If the A's beat the Astros and the Mariners are idle, which they are, they will cut the Astros lead to 3 games. Now, for Mariner fans who saw that horrific July and August, which cost them the 10-game lead, they must be pulling their hair out thinking, oh my God, if we were only mediocre, then they'd be lining themselves up for a division title. But you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. But the A's could make a significant contribution to the American League West race if they can pull the Astros to just a 3-game lead over the Seattle Mariners and maybe, just maybe, make the AL West race fun again. Now, they got to get through this game. The A's have to get through this game tomorrow. As I said, they've won the first 2 games. So the worst case scenario is they took 2 out of 3 from Houston in Houston. They can take a shot at a sweep. And then after that, they play the White Sox, who are en route to becoming the team that everyone thought the A's were going to be this year. If you've told everyone the A's were going to have one of the worst records in the history of baseball with all the things going against them this year, you probably would have thought that was possible. Instead, that's going to the White Sox. And the A's can pick up 3 of those 7 wins, or 3 of those 8 wins that they need to build up the quest for 73 wins, which would avoid a 90-loss season. By the way, just parenthetically, the Mariners and the Astros play each other 3 times towards the end of the season, which means there could be a chance the Mariners could beat the Astros. It's possible. But anyway, we'll deal with that in a second. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the article that came out that basically shows just when we thought this whole Sacramento thing couldn't be more insulting, the A's find a way to do just that. All right, let's hear from our friends over at PrizePicks. You know all about PrizePicks. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, just you against the number. All you do is pick more or less than a 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can win up to 100 times your money with PrizePicks with as few as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the best way to get in on sports in most states, including Texas, Georgia, and right here in California. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as little as 15 minutes. And PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. And now, let's hear from our good friends at FanDuel. You know about FanDuel. You've heard us talk about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. We have something a little different from you. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. And if that's not enough, be sure to bring FanDuel's Profit Boost and put that in the app and use it for FanDuel's double your winnings for all Sunday, September 15th pregame moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be live starting Thursday, September 12th. View your account page to learn more about your boost. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, thanks so much for making Locked On A's your first listen. For your second listen, have more of me, your pal Sully at Locked On MLB. I'm here to provide you the national perspective on the Major League Baseball season, my point of view, my humor, and sometimes any weird thing that goes through my brain. To get you ready for the Major League Baseball playoffs here in the dog days of summer, prepare for the Fall Classic with me, your pal Sully. Got it covered every single day at Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. There's an article in the Sacramento Bee by Chris Biderman that came out the other day, and Sports Illustrated talked about it as well. Let me read you the opening paragraph of this article from the Sacramento Bee. Should the A's make the playoffs after moving to West Sacramento next spring, there is no guarantee the postseason games will be played at Sutter Health Park. This is insane. This is a team source said that new ticket buyers in Sacramento have been told that jewel events such as playoff games or All-Star are not guaranteed to be played there because of Major League Baseball stadium requirements. Okay? Where are they going to play them? Now, a lot of people have been snarky and saying things like, well, it's not like the A's are going to make the playoffs anytime soon. Well, the Royals lost 100 games last year and are going to make the playoffs. The Rangers lost 100 games in 2021, and they won the 2023 World Series. And in case you haven't noticed, the A's, for about half the season, have been playing winning baseball. They have good pitching. They have some decent hitting. Of course, they're not going to make any moves to improve the team, which is the great irony, because in order for the Las Vegas thing to work, they've been pledging that they're going to bring a contender to Las Vegas. Well, how the hell are you going to do that if you don't invest in the team? But the team has been playing pretty well, and the idea of a team that just is going to take a nearly 20-game positive spin, which they could do, which they are in the process of doing. The idea of them winning 84, 85 games, which is enough to punch your ticket in the postseason these days, is not out of the question. And remember, you hear people talk as if the A's haven't made the playoffs recently. They made the playoffs as a wildcard team in 2018 and 2019 as a division winner in 2020, and were a contender deep into the 2021 season. It's not like, oh man, it's not been since 1994. No. And they're going in the right direction. This is just another example that no thought was given to this. Now, where would they play? Seriously. A source was given to Sports Illustrated that home playoff games are not guaranteed and they would have to find an alternate location. And this just shows, I mean, this is absolutely disgrace upon disgrace. And this is something that they didn't really inform their fans. Maybe there's some tiny thing in the fine print, but when you buy a season ticket package, the concept of we're also investing in case they make the playoffs, we'll get in. The Marlins made the playoffs last year and the COVID year. Now they're terrible this year, but in 2018, the Rockies were a playoff team. You always see teams that are unlikely making the postseason, much like, as I said, Kansas City, 100-loss team last year, all but guaranteed to make the playoffs this year. Teams can turn around quickly, and you're already seeing some of the pieces that are being put into place. A decent bullpen, a couple good arms in the rotation, some big bats in the lineup. They could sweep the Astros today. I'm not saying this is guaranteed, but you have, 6 teams in each league wind up making the postseason? Is that how it is? Yeah, it's 6 teams in each league. There are 12 playoff teams. Is it out of line to think a team that is going to make a 15, 20 game improvement from last year could make another improvement and get to the 83, 84 win threshold? Where will they play? Oakland? San Francisco? This is just insane, especially when you consider the fact that there is a mindset that maybe this is Sacramento trying to audition as a major league ballpark. No thought was given to this. Nobody could look me in the eye and say any thought was given to this. And every time I think that this couldn't get more embarrassing, the A's say, hold my beer, and say, well, we can show more disrespect to the game. There's never been, since the advent of the World Series, a neutral game site in the postseason, except for COVID. COVID was the only time that ever happened. A freaking pandemic. The 89 earthquake didn't stop it. Now, there have been times where a team has played in the other ballpark in the city. For example, Braves Field hosted a couple of Red Sox World Series, and Comiskey Park hosted, instead of Wrigley Field, a Cubs World Series. But they're not going to go back to Oakland for the World Series or the playoffs. They're not going to play in Sacramento. So where will it be, baseball? And if you're going to be playing in a stadium that doesn't meet the standards, then what does that tell you about how well you planned this thing out? Everything about this is a disgrace. If you think otherwise, let me know, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. For those of us who thrive on getting stuff done, including workouts, every minute counts. That's why you need TonaI, the smart strength training system that takes the guesswork out of working out so you can make sure you're making the most of every rep. Even the most dedicated gym goers struggle with consistency. The commute, waiting for weights, other people sweat. It makes skipping a workout very tempting. With TonaI, you can choose from thousands of workouts and train in a way that you actually enjoy at home. TonaI is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that helps get you stronger. Powered by AI, TonaI learns with every rep so it can deliver workouts personalized just for you. TonaI learns from your movement, provides suggested weight recommendations for every move with detailed progress reports. They even create personalized program and workout suggestions or recommendations based on your individual goals. It's like having a personal trainer at home with you, as TonaI will optimize every workout just for you. Unlike traditional gym equipment, TonaI uses adaptive digital weight to advance your training techniques. From professional athletes to your pal Sully, TonaI is trusted by thousands who have become their strongest. Right now, TonaI is offering our listeners $200 off total purchase with promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's TonaI.com, and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. That's TonaI.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off. Thanks so much for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, hey, enjoy me, your pal Sully. I'm the host of the Locked On MLB podcast. I'm here to provide the national expertise with my point of view, my humor, and all other stuff. Prepare for the Fall Classic with me, and I've got it covered every single day at Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, Locked On A's fans, you may have noticed I've changed my shirt. It's too hot to wear my windbreaker right now, but I'm going to bring in the great author, poet, writer, singer, and lover of all things Philadelphia sports, Michael X Ferraro. For those of you who follow Locked On MLB, you may note that he's wearing something very similar to the day he did that episode. Could I be doing both at the same time? Did I just show my hand? How you doing, Ferraro?
I'm doing very well. I could have done a quick costume change. I don't know if I have any green and gold sell the team gear. I should.
You should.
I'll buy some.
Yeah, that's
yes,
all right. It's okay. We'll forgive. Hey, you and I have known each other for literally decades, and and you're a rabid Phillies fan, and you grew up in Philadelphia, near Philadelphia.
That's right. Yeah, the Philadelphia. I'm a rabid Marinville Phillies fan. Sorry about that. He never played for the Phils. Yeah.
By the way, he's right behind me, right there. Where's Rabbit Marinville?
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, there he is, right there. That's Rabbit Marinville.
So it makes
my
sense.
Grandmother's favorite player.
Yeah.
Yes, she loved.
I remember. I think I remember that.
Yeah, he played for the Boston Braves in the 1910s, and my grandmother, when she talked about her favorite players, she mentioned he was part of the Miracle Braves of 1914, who defeated the Philadelphia A's, and I think there may have been some shenanigans in that World Series, as Connie Mack dismantled the team the nanosecond that series was over, angrily.
Yeah.
But speaking of the A's, this is Locked On A's.
That's right.
Growing up in a Philadelphia sports environment, was there any remaining residue or lingering, like old timers who talked about the A's or talked about that growing up when you were there?
Yeah, to a very minor degree. It's more like Connie Mack Stadium was still very much in the city's psyche. I mean, we're roughly the same age, Sully. So I was like a kid when the Phillies got good in the 70s with Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton and those guys. So
Manny Trio, former Oakland A, Manny Trio,
1980, NLCS MVP Manny Trio,
right?
Absolutely. So yeah, there was still at that point some kind of vague A's remnants in the culture. Yeah, I think so. Mostly, like I said, because Connie Mack, that name still carries weight in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and he has this. I mean, it's one of the things when I went to Citizens Bank Ballpark, I was very pleased to see that Connie Mack had a statue outside the ballpark they listed all of the Hall of Famers from the Philadelphia A's on the statue as well. But he was one of the great towering figures in baseball for the first half of the 20th century. He was a mammoth figure in baseball, and he was Philadelphia baseball.
Yeah, he was dignity incarnate, and I mean, he sort of, he had been a great catcher. I mean, he was a good backstop. He's not a great hitter, but then he managed that team and owned that team for so long, and he kind of conferred this civility and dignity. He was revered. I mean, people talk about, when Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig went to Japan and they were barred, but Mr. Mack went over there too. I mean, he was an amazing ambassador for the game, and they tried so hard to keep the A's in town, as you know. I mean, I believe I have a giant Connie Mack biography that you brought to a book swap party of mine. I did.
I've read 2 or 3 biographies of Connie Mack. I have that. I still have that on Kindle. So I figured I didn't need to have it filling up a room on my wall here. But I mean, I talked about this in one of the videos, that the reason why you're a Phillies fan and not an A's fan is because the Phillies surpassed the A's at the worst possible time for the A's, which was that period of time post World War II, that it was clear that a lot of cities couldn't support two teams. And right around then, the Whiz Kids Phillies were very popular. They went to the World Series in 1950, and the A's were just a shell of their former self. And we talk about the dignity, but Connie Mack had a couple of Fredo Corleones as his sons.
He sure did, yeah.
And they did basically a baseball answer to Weekend at Bernie's for the last bunch of years of Connie Mack being a 90-some-odd-year-old manager. I mean, we talk about, I mean, I'm going to get political, but like a few months ago, we had two octogenarians running, and we said, oh, this is, these are, we don't want them running the country. Well, they had an almost 90-year-old running the A's. And a lot of it was we want to win one more for Connie, and it's like, no, it's not going to happen. So they showed with green shirts that said "sell" at Connie Mack Stadium.
Yeah, right. Oh man. Well, we were talking on the Phillies podcast, so that great biography of Mr. Mack that you gave me, I used it for research. I did a serialized short story last year on bardball.com called The Return of the Mack, in which I reimagined Connie Mack a zombified Connie Mack coming back from the grave to resume ownership of the A's, because I posited that there was a clause in the contract when he gave up ownership of the Athletics that if they ever moved east, he would have first right of refusal. So they went from Philly to Kansas City to Oakland, but then as soon as the word came that they were going to move to Las Vegas or even Sacramento, that's east, and that brought him back from the grave. So,
well, you know what? That makes more sense than their current plan to play in Las Vegas. So it's
I mean, hey, there's puppets in the stands protesting. Why not a zombie?
Why not a zombie? I've often thought of, I mean, like I mentioned this in the video that I did where I was traveling around Philadelphia, going to the places where the Baker Bowl was, and Connie Mack Stadium, aka Scheid Park, is now a mega church, and not a very far walk from the Baker Bowl, and a couple other spots were the Vet, is basically in the parking lot of what is currently the complex where they have the football stadium. I was at the Wells Fargo Arena. Is that I can't keep track of what bank owns what.
Other bank now, but
some other conglomerate. Runs
the Spectrum. It'll always be the Spectrum to me, and the Vet.
And the Vet.
Citizens Bank. It's a bank, but at least it's Citizens in there, so it feels a little.
And you also call it the bank. I mean, so that was it's like when Arizona was called Bank One Ballpark, it was the Bob.
That's right.
And when the Giants initially was Pacific Bell Park, Pac Bell Park, that had a nice ring to it.
Absolutely.
Oracle Park. For a while, it was SBC Park. Like, come on, just call it Pac Bell. Call it Pac Bell. But I mean, imagine. I've covered this already, but they had Mr. Cox, owned the Phillies for like 14 months and was suspended for gambling. But in that time, he spent money on the farm system, and a lot of the players who became the Whiz Kids were brought in his short tenure as the owner. And under normal circumstances, the Phillies would have been the team that moved. And and the A's would be an institution of Philadelphia, or at least be associated with Philadelphia the same way that you associate the Tigers with Detroit, the Cubs with Chicago, the Reds with Cincinnati. Instead, the A's have just become vagabonds. Absolutely.
You're saying that Granny Hamner ran the A's out of town. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about the history throughout the only time when those two teams were together. The A's won the pennant in the 1900s, the 1910s, the 1920s, the 1930s. Both teams fell on hard time in the 40s. And the 50s, the Phillies went to the World Series, and the A's couldn't draw flies. And so naturally, they're the team that move. But the amazing thing was when the Suns, one group of the Suns wanted to keep them in Philly. The other group of the Suns were considering to move them. And when they consolidated, that was basically the death knell of the A's.
Yeah, they should do like a version of Succession with on those. You said Weekend at Bernie's, but I think you got some good drama there.
Yeah, but like Mr. Mack struck me as too. He's not as cutthroat a patriarch.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. He's not going to be urinating on any carpets. No.
It's more of like maybe King Lear. I
like that.
Kurosawa adopted King Lear to Ron. Maybe we could adapt King Lear to some sort of a baseball thing.
He did. But I do, Mr. Mack. I think all managers should wear suits. Why are you wearing a uniform? You're not in the game. It's silly.
By the way, you got to see some of those when they started doing the World Series films, like the World Series highlight films. They started doing a lot of them during World War II, and a lot of times they were introduced by Connie Mack. Like Connie Mack would be behind a desk, and if you want to see someone who did not have a media handler, because he says it with the joy that most of the time is used in a proof of life video in a hostage situation. I believe that baseball is here for all the fine servicemen. He's blinking SOS. He's holding up a newspaper to show what day it was. But
well, hey Sully, if anybody wants to option the Return of the Mac, the zombified Connie Mack story, James Cromwell as Connie Mack, right?
Oh, that's phenomenal. I was thinking Richard Jenkins, but you're right. James Cromwell. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That'll do,
Pig. That'll do, Jimmy Fox. That'll do.
That's right.
All right. Hey, tell the good people of Locked On A's where they can find you.
Peddling some baseball doggerel and fiction at bardball.com, BARDBALL.com, James Finn Garner's excellent site. And Sully, this is totally random, but I'm also a country singer named of Zeke Bleek. It's my alter ego, BLEEK, with the hit single 26X's. Random, okay. I know. But hey, MC Hammer, Stanley Burrell was the vice president of the Oakland A's as a 13-year-old boy.
He delivered more pennants than Gene Mauch. I'm just saying.
Ouch! Too soon.